Hello viewers, welcome to Magic Arena with Little Beep. My last video showed you a different kind of Edgewell Innkeeper Lucky Clover deck. We were playing lots of knights and trying to kill people with Smitten Swordmaster and Murderous Rider. Unfortunately, after Oko was banned, one of the deck's best matchups sort of left the format and was replaced by a lot of decks like Jeskai Fires and various Mayhem Devil Cat decks, which were much weaker matchups on the whole. Those cards really gave the deck fits. And so I've decided to try something a little bit different in the format. So I really still like Edgewell Innkeeper and Lucky Clover, especially Lucky Clover. This card just is 2 mana and lets you double 4 or 5 spells over the course of the game easily sometimes, which is just incredible value if the spells you're casting are actual good spells. And so I want to try building something with this and using Lucky Clover to sort of have a powerful go over the top deck that still gets to play a lot of cheap spells because the adventure cards usually are cheap on at least one side, if not both. And at first I started with a Sultai version of the deck that was playing Murderous Rider and Casualties of War, and of course had a different wish board to go with Fae of Wishes. That deck was pretty good. I liked playing it. It did sometimes, though, run into some trouble with aggro decks. It felt like it was like 1 or 2 cards short of being a really complete package. I was lucky enough to run into someone else on the ladder. I don't remember their name anymore, but that person was playing a Temur version of this deck that had Bonecrusher Giant and Escape to the Wilds. And Bonecrusher Giant I'd thought about a lot, of course, because the card's just really powerful, especially with Lucky Clover. But Escape to the Wilds is really what puts this deck over the top. It lets you draw basically a bunch of cards at once, with the downside being that you have to play those cards either this turn or next turn, or you lose them forever. And the great thing about this deck is, with the exception of Escape to the Wilds itself and Nissa, everything in this deck can be cast for 3 mana or less, and almost everything can be cast for 2 mana or less. The only exception being Beanstalk Giant has 3 mana adventure and is expensive on the other end. So Escape to the Wilds makes it pretty easy to cast all the stuff you're getting off of this, especially if you hit a land or 2, which is one of the reasons we have sort of a higher land count. And sort of what this deck does is it's really a ramp control deck. It might look sort of aggressive with all these cheap creatures, but in reality, what we're trying to do in the early turns is just get set up, play Edgewell Innkeeper and Lucky Clover, get a little bit of card advantage with a Bonecrusher Giant, get the board protected with a Lovestruck Beast, that kind of thing. We can apply enough pressure that decks actually have to react to us, which is pretty important. Like we often are able to force out something like its Fairy or Wrath effect before we go off with a big spell. But in reality, the true thing this deck does is that we're really a Fae of Wishes deck. So we have all these cards for board control, lots of 2-for-1s early value against aggro decks, but the way you beat something like Adventures or the Cat decks or any kind of control deck is that you just go way over the top with Lucky Clover plus Fae of Wishes. So let's talk a little bit about this sideboard here. So first off, I should mention there are a couple of kind of 3-of cards that come in certain matchups that are not really part of the wish board, although you can, of course, wish for them. These would be Return to Nature and Mystical Dispute. So Mystical Dispute is here to fight the blue flash-based decks. It's possible we don't need as many of these because blue flash actually turns out to be a pretty good matchup when you have so many cheap instant speed spells. But that's sort of what they're here. They also come in against control decks, fires. Then we also have Return to Nature, which comes in against the Cat decks and other decks that are really reliant on artifacts and enchantments. Also comes in against fires, of course. And so these are 3-ofs because they're useful to have multiple copies in certain matchups, but otherwise we sort of take up our space here with the wish board. Things we can wish for with Fae of Wishes. It's really nice of them to make this card named Fae of Wishes, by the way, so that even newer players who aren't familiar with the wish cards from the Odyssey block will know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, we have a bunch of 1-ofs, so we have Negate. The reason I have 1 Negate and 3 Mystical Dispute is because often you really want to wish for a hard counterspell in the late game when both players have plenty of mana, like something that doesn't just get countered by the opponent spending 3, and Negate's here for that. Got Lava Coil, so that Fae of Wishes can tutor up some cheap removal. Often, this deck is more of a controlling deck. It's possible to get behind on board, and so frequently you'll find yourself needing to kill a Questing Beast or a Rankle or a Sphinx of Foresight or something like that, and Fae of Wishes into Lava Coil does the trick. We've got a Sorceress Spyglass. By far the most common thing I've done with this is name Witch's Oven against the Cat decks, which is often pretty good against them. But it can also be your Planeswalker removal in a pinch. One thing that's different between Temur and Sultai is that red, unlike black, doesn't really have great ways to remove Planeswalkers from the game. So we have Sorceress Spyglass for that. We've got Flame Sweep as our sort of anti-aggro sweeper card. There really hasn't been much low-to-the-ground aggro, and we tend to be pretty good against this deck anyway. Flame Sweep is definitely a prime candidate for a card I'm looking for a replacement to, although I'm not sure yet what would replace it. I'll keep it in here just to speed up the video for now. We've got Once in Future, which is sort of a part of the Once in Future Tamiyo Planewide Celebration engine. So together, these 3 cards let us basically go infinitely long in control games by just you can use Plain-Wide Celebration to get back a bunch of stuff from the graveyard, or gain 16 life. It's good for both of those things. And then you can use Tamiyo to get back Plain-Wide Celebration. And then if Tamiyo dies, you can use Plain-Wide Celebration to get back Tamiyo. So that forms a loop that's pretty hard for decks to break up, unless they have counter spells or graveyard hate. And if they do have counter spells and graveyard hate, you can just sort of use both of these cards for their value applications. And then Once in Future is sort of a backup wish. This is a new addition to the sideboard. It might just be that it's redundant and you don't need to have this kind of effect. But what this does is just lets us get back Tamiyo and Plain-Wide Celebration if they both end up in the graveyard. And it's also a bit of a cheaper Plain-Wide Celebration effect. So if you want to, for example, use a Fae of Wishes, and then next turn you want to use Once in Future and play a bunch of spells, it could be useful for that. Again, I'm not sure this really belongs here. It could just be that we want to, might just be that we want to replace like both of these with like a couple of extra Lava Coil or something like that. Or maybe a fourth Mystical Dispute, who knows. And then we've got a couple of other cards. These are like our game-ending cards. Chandra is really good against decks that have counter spells, or decks that have just like a bunch of cheap creatures out. She sort of lets you, not only can she wipe a board or target down a creature for removal, she also gives you a sort of inevitability win condition. So if you're playing against a cat deck, sometimes it can just be hard to get through and kill them. They have Masker Girls to get rid of your creatures, and they have the endless life gain from the cats. But fortunately, Chandra's plus ability pretty easily outraces their Witch's Ovens, and then you're able to avoid dying because you have Plain-Wide Celebration and Tamiyo to continue gaining lots and lots of life. And of course, you're also hopefully playing Spyglass and Return to Nature to get rid of the ovens and so on. Anyway, most of the cat decks are pretty good matchups because they just have a hard time getting through your wish board. And then we have Explosion. This is another way to finish off the cat decks. They often stabilize around 15 life and kind of hover there as you're chipping away at them with flyers and so on. Explosion just not only can kill an opponent out of nowhere, it can also mill them if the game goes really long, as it sometimes does against more controlling decks in this format. And in a pinch, it's also nice just to have a card that you can spend 7 or 8 mana on and draw 3 or 4 cards to kind of reload while also killing something. And then sort of Expansion Explosion is also, of course, very good with Nissa. A little more on Nissa. We have a bunch of cards in this deck that are non-negotiable. I think this entire, these 24 cards and then these 4 cards are absolutely non-negotiable. But these 6 maybe have some flexibility. I think you want at least 2 Escape to the Wilds. Maybe you want all 4. But I've thought about playing a few other different spells in this slot. Nissa is great for doubling your mana. She's really good with Fae of Wishes because this card is expensive to use. I've also thought about the Great Henge, which has tested pretty well in times when it's worked. You have 4 Lovestruck Beast, which are, of course, very good with the Great Henge. And it's a lot of creatures, so it's nice to both gain you life and then just be a card draw engine. And Nissa doesn't draw you cards, so in that way, Great Henge is better. But in general, I found the Great Henge could be a little bit clumsy. If decks are good at getting rid of your Lovestruck Beast, it just doesn't really do anything. I guess it is good with Beanstalk Giant as well, but you find yourself, if you're hard casting Beanstalk Giants safely, you're probably in a pretty good place already. Then I like Nissa a lot. It's possible that Nissa could also be something like Incubation. It's a card that can tutor up some of your creatures. The deck I was playing against originally on the ladder did have Incubation in it. So I think with 24 creatures, Incubation misses like a little more often than I would like. It's like something like 7% to miss a creature if you cast it. Maybe less if you've taken some lands out of your deck with Beanstalk Giants, but it's possible it's pretty good. By far the deck's best starts are those where you go turn 2 Lucky Clover, turn 3 Beanstalk Giant, because that gives you enough mana that you can cast something like a Petty Theft or a Stomp. And so it's possible that something like Incubation increasing the number of Beanstalk Giants in our deck by letting us find them might be good, like a little bit of Once Upon a Time style effect. But for now, I'm trying a bit of a heavier top end. I've also thought about some of the sideboard cards that I've considered or played in the past include Vivian. So the 4-mana Vivian is you're not really going to be tutoring out as a value Planeswalker too often because normally something like Chandra or Explosion will be better, but she is really good specifically at possibly being Planeswalker removal. If you cast her when you have a Lovestruck Beast or a Beanstalk Giant or a Bone Crusher Giant out, she can actually kill a Planeswalker in green, which is pretty nice. I'm going to think we could also maybe use Domer's Ambush for that purpose. Although, of course, that's a little bit more conditional than Lava Coil. And she also lets you give Trample to a Beanstalk Giant. So once in a while, you do get to games against like cats, for example, where you have these giant monsters on the board, but they don't do anything because they just get blocked by a cat. And Vivian giving your 12/12 Trample can help you in games in a hurry. The nice thing about Beanstalk Giant is it's also basically unkillable by Massacre Girl because it's just too darn big in the late game. So it's possible that Vivian's good. I just found that I was never getting her out of my sideboard, that like other cards were always better in that situation. I've also thought about Domer's Ambush. This is being another cheap Vivian effect that lets you kill Planeswalkers. Thought a little bit about Domri Chaos Bringer as like a planeswalker that lets you also add mana and sort of be mid-rangey. Again, these 4 mana planeswalkers that were sort of like just I feel like you can afford to go big once you're doing Fae of Wishes stuff most of the time. I've thought about this is a spicy one. Portal of Sanctuary, which lets you kind of recycle all your adventure creatures endlessly. This card going in combination with something like a Bone Crusher Giant can just like end games very easily by itself. It's kind of a cheap card that is a value engine and lets you be very flexible with how you spend mana because it's very cheap to use. And those are promising. I actually think I might want to test this at some point. The problem is I've just been generally winning every game when I was able to like use Fae of Wishes to go into my sideboard and like really play around there. So it's hard to say like what the sideboard is missing right now. That's what makes me think I might just want to bring in some cards for like cheap, effective answers in the main deck to deal with some of my harder matchups. But anyway, Portal of Sanctuary is something I've thought about. I've thought about the Great Henge, as I mentioned, and I'll probably, in the Reddit post that accompanies this video, talk about some of the other cards I've thought about. But for now, we should probably move on. I'll talk a little bit of matchups, I guess, because I don't know what we're going to run into today. So far, I found that Fires is generally a very good matchup for us. Brazen Borrower does just a fantastic job at stalling the things that they're doing long enough that you can Fae of Wishes, get some cards to kill their Fires, and then you just go way over the top of them in long games because they're not really a true control deck. They don't have a lot of long-term card advantage. I will note that the Planeswalker version of Fires is a little bit harder because our deck is not as good at dealing with Planeswalkers as we are at kind of restricting how good their 5-mana creatures can be. Fortunately, the Planeswalker version is much worse in most situations. So I will mostly run into Knights and Cavaliers and so on. Aggro matchups are typically just very good. I'm not sure I've lost a match yet to a true aggro deck like a red-black aggro or a Knights or something like that. Bone Crusher Giant and Brazen Borrower and Lovestruck Beast are all just excellent against them. Fae of Wishes being a 2-mana 1/4 is also pretty good. And they just have a really hard time getting through all of these cards before you get your bigger stuff online. So cat decks vary a lot. I have not lost yet to green-black cats. That matchup tends to be very easy because they just can't get enough damage going to really kill you. Planewide Celebration, so they are a long game deck. They try to grind you out in the long game. Planewide Celebration means they just can't really kill you realistically with cat drains. Massacre Girl doesn't really hurt you because you don't really have that many creatures out most of the time. You're able to kind of hold them in reserve because they're not attacking you very well. And then your late game value engine just goes way over their late game value engine. Even the card Casualties of War, I've had that cast on me a bunch of times, and it's just rarely mattered that much because by the time they have that going, Planewide Celebration just counters it. It gets back all the cards that the Casualties of War can destroy, and having early casualties in their hand sort of slows down their draw and makes it a bit clunkier. So I found green-black cats to be great. Red-black, on the other hand, is a pretty hard matchup. I think I'm like 1-2 against the red-black cat decks. And that's just because Mayhem Devil is quite good against us. It kills Brazen Borrower, it kills Edgewell Keeper. It just increases the clock on us by a lot. We have a hard time getting rid of it because it doesn't die to 1 Bone Crusher Giant. And yeah, they're just able to be a low-to-the-ground aggro deck that still has late-game value and is really good at getting around Cauldron, Witch's Oven specifically gets around the cards that target because whatever we target with Brazen Borrower or Bone Crusher Giant can be sacrificed, and that means we don't get to play these cards later as creatures. So that's tough. That's one of the reasons I'm thinking about changing the sideboard to have a little bit more just like cheap removal and things that are fine against the Mayhem Devil type synergies, and Priest of the Forgotten Gods, also something we really like getting rid of when we can. So that's been tough. Green Black Rock, also undefeated in like, 3 or 4 matches against that deck. Any deck that has like a bunch of kind of expensive permanents just tends to get destroyed by Brazen Borrower. So I've had games go, I have turn 2 Lucky Clover, they have turn 2 Paradise Druid, turn 3 I pass the turn, and they go Questing Beast attack you or Rankle attack you, and I just Brazen Borrower bounce both of your permanents back to your hand. And that's like just really disastrous for them to recover from. What else? I just run into kind of a bunch of random stuff. I guess Blue-Eye Control is one I faced a few times, including memorably playing against Canister when Canister was running that deck. And Blue-Eye Control just can't really get rid of Lucky Clovers, at least not pre-board. And so they just inevitably lose to your long game. I've never had any real trouble in that matchup. Chandra is also just disastrous for them because even if she just pluses once, that's a huge threat. And then you have a couple of sweepers, which mean you don't just die randomly to Finale of Glory. Yeah, I guess there are other matchups I could talk about, but now at this point I'm getting a little impatient to move on to games. You can also read the Reddit post for more on that. So let's fire up the ladder. Before we do that, let's just quick check on the position. Great, number 7. So far this season I peaked at 6. That was yesterday. Then my rank decayed. So let's try and get it back up again. Oh, not historic. That would not be great. Let's play some Lucky Clover. All right, got a match right away. That's nice. And we're up against number 9. Oh, wow. All right. So we have some... Fortunately, I won't lose much rank if I lose this one, but this is going to be a pretty serious match. Let's... First game of the day, but let's hope I can be in like a good state of mind for this. And yeah, this hand is great. I love it. It's got all our colors. It's got Edgewell Innkeeper. It's got Lucky Clover. It's everything we want. And so the question in hands like this is, because we have all our colors, we could play Edgewell Innkeeper on turn 1. Or we could play Temple of Mystery on turn 1. The thing about Innkeeper is our turn 2 is almost certainly just going to be Lucky Clover. And I really don't want to cast Bonecrusher Giant before you stomp, so Edgewell Innkeeper is just kind of be sitting there if we cast it. It's going to be a 1/1, and it's not really going to get cards for us. I'm kind of tempted just to play out this Temple of Mystery on turn 1 and just save the Innkeeper for a turn we're going to play an Adventure Creature anyway, so we definitely draw a card off of it. I'm going to do that. It's possible this is wrong, but the Scryland also is nice because it helps us make sure we don't draw a land next turn, because we would like to start drawing some spells with this hand. Okay, well, that's another Stomping Ground, so it goes. Definitely just going to go Clover this turn, and then if our opponent doesn't do much next turn, we might just go turn 3 Edgewell Innkeeper, double stomp your face, then play a Bonecrusher Giant. We'll see. Hoping they give us some targets for this Bonecrusher Giant, though. All right, this is looking like it might be Team Reclamation. We're flooding a little bit here. That's one of the reasons I've thought about dropping the land count a little bit. They'll play Edgewell Innkeeper. They'll probably play Growth Spiral or something. So far, Team Reclamation, we've won a couple times. The matchup does not feel comfortable, especially pre-board. It might be one of the weaker matchups for the deck, for all I know. And certainly having not drawn any spells yet this game makes things a little less comfortable than I would ideally like. I'm expecting to see a Growth Spiral. Oh, this might also be a Brineborn Cutthroat. If this is a Brineborn Cutthroat, then the matchup gets much, much better, and I'm very happy with it. Or it's Brazen Borrower? It's Brazen Borrower on the Clover. All right, I love seeing that. That is fantastic. Okay, so this is just going to be... this is just looking like it's Blue-Green Flash, which is a much better matchup. They just have a lot of trouble with decks that have as much instant speed interaction as we do. Okay. So you'll notice I didn't double stomp them in response to that. That's because I really want to use this Bonecrusher Giant to kill something like that Brazen Borrower. So I'm guessing they're going to try countering Lucky Clover. So my play here is going to be first attack with Innkeeper. And then, so I'm going to first play a land here. Then I'm going to attack with Innkeeper, and if they try to flash something in, I'll just Bonecrusher Giant whatever they flash in. If they flash in like a Spectral Sailor, I can still stomp it because they shouldn't have counters besides Quench. They're just going to let Innkeeper get through. That's fine. Okay, and now I'm going to play Lucky Clover. They could counter it, but if they counter it, that's spending their whole turn and they're not using Brazen Borrower, which is fine. It's sort of not fine, but we also can't play around this counter because we've failed to draw spells this game. Sad first game to be showing you, but hey, that's how Arena goes sometimes. Now they're thinking about whether they want to counter this or whether they just want to cast a Brazen Borrower and start getting at my life total a little bit. So this deck is not something our opponent's seen before. They can probably guess we have Bonecrusher Giant, though. I'm curious to see if there's another Brazen Borrower. Alright, so just going to cast out Brazen Borrower. We're going to let this resolve, and then we're just going to double stomp it before they can have counter magic up. Because I really do want to cast this and draw cards off it next turn. So unfortunately, we're a little bit soft to something like a Nightpack Ambusher right now. But we do have a bunch of other answers to that card in our deck. For example, we could draw a Brazen Borrower and just bounce it. And we're going to get 2 cards next turn off of Bonecrusher Giant, so that part's nice. As expected, our opponent has passed the turn, and jeepers creepers. We have gotten a succession of pretty terrible draws here, admittedly. I'm going to, I think, just play the Stomping Ground out in case they have Quench or something. Play Bonecrusher Giant. Really need to draw something right now. Okay, we drew something. It's not great. Like, if they have Nightpack Ambusher, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, but I am just going to go ahead and Heart's Desire. If they have Frilled Mystic, that's fine. We'll still get a token. And basically, I just want them not to have Nightpack Ambusher very much right now. If they have Nightpack Ambusher, this is going to be a hard game. We still need spells. But this at least forces them to choose between casting the Nightpack Ambusher I'm sure they want to cast and countering our spell. Oh, it's just Brineborn Cutthroat. That's pretty good news. I mean, this is probably still Quench, but The fact of them not having a Nightpack Ambusher is really nice. And now we just hold back. We block this thing pretty well for a couple turns at least. At this point, we just really need to draw spells, especially spells we're not going to be able to counter. Okay, interesting. So this is the Christian Calcona version playing Nissa, which I think should usually be better. I don't think Nissa's usually that great against us, but this is certainly annoying. I'm just going to block this land and try to cut them off of mana a little bit. Not going to block the Cutthroat yet because we really need to be drawing cards off this Edgewell Innkeeper. I just really need any spell. It would be so good. Fae of Wishes. Ah, yeah, this is going to be nice. This is going to be nice. Okay, so now we actually get to play the deck as I intended. So we're going to get to do double Granted, and then hopefully just kind of crush them from here. But let's see what we want to get this. So they have a Nissa. Nissa's a problem. We can't kill her, but we can Spyglass her, so I think that's what I'm going to do. And then the question is, what else do we get? The Flame Sweep would kill both their creatures, but not next turn, because they're both going to be bigger next turn, probably. I wish I could just get a Brazen Borrower, but I unfortunately can't. So I'm definitely going to get Spyglass. I guess that part's not negotiable. And the question is, what else to get? I think the answer is just going to be Chandra. I just want something that's uncounterable. So we're going to take a bunch of damage next turn, but then hopefully Chandra can control their board a little bit. Lava Coil might be a little bit too small to kill their stuff, and everything else could get countered. So I'm just going to grab Chandra. It's possible this still isn't enough, but I'm hoping that they don't have Brazen Borrower for this Spyglass. Okay, they have another Nissa and a Nightpick Ambusher. That's terrifying. All right, so fortunately this is shutting off another one of the cards in their hand, and they don't have any counter spells, which is interesting to know. We're going to name Nissa Who Shakes the World. No attacks. Going to take maybe 5 damage next turn. Chandra being able to kill Nightpick Ambusher is pretty good too. It's like a really convenient thing. And the fact that neither of their creatures can get above 3 toughness is actually just excellent for us. So let's see. So this is where I'm choosing whether to block. There's a question of whether I'm going to play Chandra and Wrath next turn just to kill off their 2 creatures. I think that's actually incredibly unlikely. Yeah. So no, we're just going to not block. There's a world where I like double block the Brineborn Cutthroat or something, or I could double block the Preserver. But what I really want to do is just have blockers for Chandra next turn, because I think if Chandra just lives, we're going to be in totally fine shape here. I don't know what the opponent is thinking about here. They have anything they can cast. We know their whole hand, but yeah, it's possible this is wrong. I'm like not thinking through my plays as much as I might normally, just because this is a YouTube video and I'm trying to not subject you to too much of that. But I'm feeling pretty okay here. You really need like Chandra to survive through 1 turn, which is hopefully I think, ooh, another blocker. That is fantastic. Edgewell Innkeeper is a really good draw there. So we're going to go ahead and just cast Innkeeper. This means we can like very easily chump block with 2 things if we have to and still keep Chandra alive, which is great. Really good. And here I'm just going to go after the Wildborn Preserver. That card is much more dangerous in the long run because it grows very big, and it can't grow this turn because they only have Nightpick Ambusher. So we're just going to go +2 here. So notably, we could also have swept the board and then cast Edgewell Innkeeper afterwards, and then Edgewell Innkeeper would have had to block Nightpick Ambusher. Not a huge fan of that. Kill you. Nightpick Ambusher doesn't grow it because this land came in untapped. So we're going to have an awkward turn. We do have to chump with 1. Wait, what? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, I screwed up really badly. I forgot that Nissa was still in play. Ah, that's an unusual situation. That's going to make this game harder. Now we might just lose. Now we might just lose on the spot because they have 1 billion mana, and I forgot about that they had 1 billion mana. Oh boy, that's going to be hard. Okay, so we still have ways to win this game, of course. The opponent does have to attack Chandra, probably. And Fae of Wishes is going to start drawing us a bunch of cards, but we just made things much harder for ourselves. Oh, the opponent's just ignoring Chandra. That's very smart. That is very smart. That's exactly what they should be doing. We're going to block this. And I want to keep both these Innkeepers around. Actually, I think I should obviously block his Wildborn Preserver because that can grow. Darn! That was so stupid. If I just shot the Cutthroat, we'd be in a much better position here. So definitely punt on game 1 goes to me. That's my fault. And this is going to be hard to do. This is going to be hard. We need to block Wildborn Preserver every turn. We now are dead to any wolves at any point. I'll be curious to see how much they pump here. If they just have a land, they might just use all their mana. Using Chandra to kill a wolf wouldn't be so bad next turn. At this point, the best draw in our deck by far is just Brazen Borrower, because Brazen Borrower just resets all the counters on their creatures. More lands is not necessarily welcome right now, especially because we can't play either of those. Oh boy. All right, well, cast Fae of Wishes, draw 2 cards, see what we can find. Lucky Clover, not right now. Fae of Wishes. Yeah, having no Beanstalk Giants is also kind of hard. So I'm just going to cast... Darn, and now I don't have any blue mana left. So Fae of Wishes is not going to help much right now. We're just going to cast it. See what I can find, but not the most hopeful position to be in. Man, that turn really just kind of messed up the whole game. Oh, okay, actually, well, these draws are pretty good. I'm going to try and resolve a Lucky Clover here. If they counter it, so be it. Okay, that one resolved. Now we're going to go for this one. That's 3 tokens. It's a good number of chump blockers. And then Escape to the Wilds next turn might just draw us into enough stuff to be able to get through this. Especially with 2 Lucky Clovers. With 2 Lucky Clovers, all bets are off. If we can just live through the turn. We have flying blockers. There's a good chance we can. I'm going to play that tapped. And then, so the Cutthroat can draw. I'm just going to gun down the Wolf here, just to try and keep the board a little bit trim. Boy, I'm still really embarrassed by that. And just to check, the opponent's at 17 life, so plussing Chandra is not a consideration. That's not going to do anything. Oh wait, what am I doing? I'm actually being stupid. I'm going to kill this Nightpack Ambusher. Okay, so Ambusher dies. Can't save that one. You have an Unsummon, in which case fine, whatever, you have an Unsummon. They can't have another Nightpack Ambusher because they don't have green mana. Okay, just another Brineborn Cutthroat. That is totally fine, especially since that's just a 2-1 and we can block it for free. Okay, so now I actually think we're kind of in the lead again, although it's really, really tight. It's really tight. We're going to need this Escape to the Wilds to be pretty good for us. Because this means we don't have to chump block with any Edgewalling Keepers, which is just amazing. They don't even get to attack with Brineborn Cutthroat, which is also great. I'm just going to throw some blockers here. Not going to... I guess I could quadruple block the Brineborn Cutthroat. Does that make sense? That actually kind of does make sense, huh? Quadruple block you. It's risky to like let one of the flyers die, but the Brineborn Cutthroat can't grow. Definitely can't grow. And at most it can take out 2 creatures, which seems like a pretty decent trade for me. Really glad they don't have any instant speed trample abilities or anything like that. I guess they could Brazen Borrow one of these blockers, but even that's not so bad. And I like taking that risk just to try and clear up the board a little bit. Yep, they just drew more lands. That's a Nissa. Okay, this is looking really good. Suddenly, I would like to be able to gain some life at some point, though. That would be really nice. All right, so we're going to go ahead, cast Nissa first, just because she makes a bunch of... Oh, no, wait. Okay, so Nissa's still mana neutral because we have these forests in play. Or, like, close enough to mana neutral that she's worth casting. It is important to remember, though, that she, at the moment, does not actually use her abilities because we have Sorcerer's Spyglass out. I should have thought more about that. I definitely forgot. But we're actually in a pretty safe spot, so I don't even need to really do anything this turn. We have enough jump blockers. The question is whether I risk Escape to the Wilds. I think I still just cast Lovestruck Beast. I think Escape to the Wilds we save for next turn once we have Nissa out. More pain lands. Yeah, one problem about this mana base is that our lands do tend to be pretty painful. Well, Edgewalling Keeper is definitely a nice one. We can play you. And then we'll just use the land that's a forest here. We don't have that much red need for red mana. And if we really want to, we can actually discard both of these cards to Fae, which is using Nissa's extra mana, which is fun. And what would we get with Fae of Wishes if we were going to do that right now? We still can't really do it with Wild War and Preserver very well. I think the way I win this game is just going to be playing a bunch of creatures and then eventually drawing into my Brazen Borrowers to bounce all their stuff. They're not even bothering to attack anymore, which is kind of funny. I think this Bloodstruck Beast is actually a big threat to them. And I'm not going to rush the Fae of Wishes thing. I can do this basically whenever. That's a Beanstalk Giant. All right, now we really have to have some fun. So with Nissa in play, of course, Beanstalk Giant is just absurd. It's a ridiculous magic card. This game actually makes me wish we saw the Vivian on the board, or a Fling. A Fling to just throw the Beanstalk Giant at them is what I saw in the other deck, and that was spicy. All right, so they're going to counter the part of the Beanstalk Giant that is a giant creature, which is whatever. We still got a huge mana boost off of this. This is the part where I start to think, how could the opponent possibly win this game? Like, what is their strategy to win the game at this point? And I'm not entirely sure what that would be. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what was in Christian Calcano's deck from the Twitch Rivals tournament, because I did watch him play it for a little while, but I don't really remember. I don't think it matters. It's hard to think of how they get through this board. Okay, we get some nice ones there. So I think we're just going to go ahead and play out this Lucky Clover, because it's basically free at this point. Play the Temple of Mystery. Escape the Wilds, sure, I'll take that one. Play out the Stomping Ground, tapped. We'll just double stomp the Wolf, or I guess we're going to quadruple stomp actually. So stomp Wolf, stomp Cutthroat. Our opponent might just scoop also, or they might just be interested to see what we're playing. Opponent, At this point, I'm not worried about Nissa anymore. We don't really care about what she can do with, if they get rid of the Spyglass. Okay. And interesting. Why can't we use this? Why can't I cast this Bone Crusher Giant? Oh, I'm out of red mana. Oops. That's fine. No attacks. Yeah, no attacks. No reason to attack here. We could probably start attacking with Fae of Wishes. I'm being a bit lazy. So the only risk our opponent could have here would be like attacking us with a flying creature or something like that, I think. And we have this flying blocker. So we gotta watch out for something like Brazen Borrower. That is one risk of attack with Fae Wishes in future turns. We definitely don't want to just get suddenly killed by a Brazen Borrower, and the opponent decides they can't win anymore. Cool. Well, that was more exciting than it had to be because I made that mistake with Nissa, with Chandra. But fortunately, Nissa plus Escape to the Wild, super broken synergy, bailed us out. And yeah, the real MVP was just Lucky Clover making 3 blockers with Lovestruck Beast, which was hilarious. Okay, so sideboarding against this deck. Excellent as Nissa was that game, I still think we probably board her out for just some counter spells. Because it is nice to be able to play their permission game with them. So in that game, they were playing the slightly bigger version with Nissa's, but yeah, especially on the draw, this card's just kind of slow and clunky. I want all 3 of the Mystical Disputes. I'm not sure what I want to cut here. Besides, I think just an Escape to the Wilds is fine. I think we just, if we play our early game successfully, they should have a really tough time getting through us. It's possible we even want this Negate, but Negate's, I think, a little bit worse than Mystical Dispute against them. I don't want to completely run out of late game stuff. Lava Coil is also a consideration just because it can kill Nightpack Ambusher. And they aren't going to have that much counter magic that stops like a turn 5 Lava Coil against a Nightpack Ambusher. I could do that over Escape the Wilds. But I might also want to get this with Fae of Wishes at some point. Definitely want to keep Spyglass in the sideboard like we used at that game. Expansion Explosion's cute, but more of a sideboard card. It's a little impractical to use. I think I'm happy enough with this. Yeah, I think Negate is not actually that good against them. Just because they, a lot of their early threats are creatures, and we don't really have the mana early in the game to fight counter wars with them. It's possible we want one, but I'm happy enough with that sideboard. This hand is excellent, again. So they could counter Lucky Clover, but if they're spending their first 2 turns counting Lucky Clovers, that's really fine. We have Brazen Borrowers to keep their early stuff under control. What we're looking for right now is just more lands. So you can cast Beanstalk Giant. That's one of the reasons I have 4 Scry lands. It's just with hands like this, you can more easily get to lands. Sometimes they do hurt you. It's possible that I want more untapped basics. Well, it looks like I mulliganed at least once, maybe twice. Twice. That's going to be tough. All right, so harder game for Pretty here. Lovestruck Beast is incredible with Lucky Clovers. Perfect. 3rd land is great. Doesn't matter if it's not red, because Beanstalk Giant's just going to give us red mana anyway. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and try for a Clover. If they counter, it's fine. Nope. Okay. Yeah, so with this Lucky Clover out, we should be extremely good to go. The scariest thing that could possibly do would be to have like a second Brandmore Cutthroat and get some early attacks in us that way, but Brazen Borrower is just going to shut that down hard. And I do mean hard. All right, so there's some question now of how to sequence this. I could have the Beanstalk Giant, or I could go for the second Clover with Lovestruck Beast as like a backup thing to do. I think I'm just into Beanstalk Giant. I want to give myself more mana. And if I get both Beanstalk Giants off successfully, then I'm going to be able to play something anyway this turn. Looks like they're Ether Gusting the Beanstalk Giant back to the top, so it actually, because I'm going to shuffle my library here, it doesn't actually matter. I'm inclined to put it on top and just get 1 land. So I have a choice here of either getting a forest to use Lovestruck Beast or getting a mountain to just have red mana. I don't really need to block. There's no blocking emergency right now, so I'm just going to get this mountain. It's fine. Okay, getting attacked here, sure, whatever. So at this point, the scariest thing that could have would be a Frilled Mystic to counter my Clover. Do I want to try and bait that or not? That's a question. So I would like to resolve this Clover. So I'm going to play Temple of Epiphany first. There's no world in which I draw cards this turn. So we're going to see what this has. Edgebolting Keeper. Okay. Keep that because I have a bunch of adventure creatures here. Yeah, I'm going to try for the Love Struck Beast here. See if that works out. Because if it does work out, this just blocks Nightback Ambusher fine. It does get countered. Okay, that was not either of the things I was scared of, so this game should be over now. You have enough mana to get through a Mystical Dispute or a Quench. And I could play Lucky Clover here, but in case their last card's Quench, I'm just going to play out this 5/5. And it was a Brazen Borrower, which is quite awful at this point for them, yeah. So they did mull to 5. Tough game for them, obviously, but I hope you can see just from this play pattern like how well this lines up. Even if they had the ideal curve of like Brineborn Cutthroat into an Ambusher or something like that, Brazen Borrower just embarrasses that. This 3/3 Hydroid Crisis is also a wildly unimpressive size. I just get to go, what's my turn this turn? I think it's going to be Clover. Yeah, let's just double Borrower them into the Stone Age here. We're going to go with double Borrower and then play Clover and Innkeeper here. So even though this lets them cast Hydroid Crisis again, I don't care. I just want their stuff off the board. Mana is their big constraint this game. I also want to demoralize them. It's important to demoralize your opponents. The double Clover starts are just incredible. Play more than 4 of this card if I could. That's a Beanstalk Giant. Okay, that's a what we in this business call a free spell, which we will cast now. And I think we'll just get the nice Rainbow Lands package here. Actually, let's get Forest first. Yeah, we'll definitely want an island because I have a bunch of double blue spells. I'll just grab another Forest here, I think. One thing to be really careful of with Beanstalk Giant, this isn't really relevant to this game, but in general, you want to watch out for accidentally fetching out all your colored sources. Actually, I'll attack with the token too. I want to tempt them to try and do Brazen Borrower or like Brineborn Cutthroat into Brazen Borrower to play all their spells out this turn, and then I can just borrow them out again. Like mostly I want to tempt them to get off of mana, because I don't really care about this 1/1, and if I can triple Fae of Wishes or get down some other stuff safely, I don't know. Mostly just want to annoy them and make them have to think about, is it worth it trying to kill this 1/1 token? Suspense is killing me, Preddy. Nightpack Ambusher. Okay. We're going to go for it. That's a good card. It means that maybe good is a bit of an overstatement, but it's like the best thing that they have going for them. And I'm certainly not going to bounce it yet. It'd be really funny if I could just Fae of Wishes for Lava Coil now. I can't, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more gentle with that. I could also try to do Brazen Borrower things to them. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually just going to... Have I played a land this turn? I don't think I played land this turn, so let's Brazen Borrower in case I draw one. And then just hold up double Brazen Borrower to bounce their Ambusher and stuff next turn. I'd kind of like to use Fae of Wishes when I can actually make use of the mana. Escape the Wilds too. So I'm going to end my turn here. I will take 4 off this Nightback Ambusher, but that shouldn't matter very much. They're also at a very dangerous life total, so they have to pay attention to that kind of thing. No blocks. Okay, they make Nightpack Ambusher a token. So the question is, do I want to try and bounce this at the end of their turn? I have plenty of mana. There's not really any reason to do that. Let them do that. Take my turn. I've maybe played this game a little bit sloppy because I was relaxed at this point, but I don't think it matters too much. So here we're just going to go Fae of Wishes. Granted, one of the things we're going to get will be Lava Coil to kill this Ambusher. Hopefully kind of forces their hand a little bit. Okay, so certainly Lava Coil. I guess I could grab a negate to be extra safe here. Sure, why not? We'll just grab a bunch of cheap spells. And I don't know. Let's grab Chandra, sure. Uncounterable stuff. So now we'll just go for a nice lava coil on the ambusher with the negate backup. Ambusher dies. I'm gonna attack with my big boys here. And then my fervent hope is that my opponent at the end of the turn is going to go Brazen Borrower plus Primer Cutthroat, and then I just bounce everything. And I guess they decided it wasn't worth it. All right, number 6, back to up 1 rank. Got to win another 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 in a row to get to number 1. That's a tough thing to do. Take a drink of water here for 1 second to keep my voice silky smooth for you. And let's jump right into the next match. All right, so that was one of our easy matchups, but you got to see us make it harder for ourselves, both by playing against somebody who's clearly very good at what they do, and by punting really, really hard in game 1. I've really got to remember that Nissa has abilities. That's tough. But we also had 2 very good opening hands. I mean, well, we didn't really draw any spells in the first game for a while, but it turned out okay. We drew pretty well in the mid game there to survive the punt. All right, round 2 on the draw. Cool. Like having an even balance so that we're not getting lucky in all the games here. The thing I'd be scared to see across from me would be, I guess, something with Mayhem Devil and Cats in it. This hand looks, what can I say? Very good. I guess the thing about like the double borrower hands is against decks that don't play a lot of permanents, they can be kind of rough. But hey, I think our opponent's playing permanents. That makes this an extremely good matchup. Second Lucky Clover is a little redundant, but gonna go tap fence. So there's a world in which we just like Bone Crusher Giant on turn 2 or something if they play like a Lord, just to keep things under control. But ooh, it looks like the Knight's mana base is haunting them pretty badly here, so we're not going to take that much early damage. Does pay to be careful though. Fervent Champion. All right, so that's 4 damage. Still want to start with Lucky Clover here. A lot of tap lands for us. Let's play this out. And then hopefully 2 for winning them each the next 3 turns should be enough to let us buy plenty of time. Acclaimed Contender, sure, whatever. That card is kind of slow. And what we really want to make sure is that we're just keeping ourselves way out of Embercleave range. So I'm just going to go ahead and go Temple of Mystery here. The guaranteed tap land. Found a forest. Yeah, I'm actually okay for that. It's a pain-free land, which is nice. And so the question is now, do I double Bone Crusher or do I double Borrower next turn? Because Venerable Knight's going to get a counter onto the Contender, which is a little rough, because that can then take me to 6. They might also try to Rimrock Knight next turn, which would make Brazen Borrower very strong. That's tricky. They might also try to Embercleave next turn, which would make Brazen Borrower kind of great. But I can also just Bone Crusher Giant and stop them from being able to Embercleave. So it's tough. I'm not sure what the best play is here. This is tricky. I'm actually going to click the next button here. And in my turn, I was not sure about what to do. It's possible that letting them do Embercleave is like a huge mistake. I'm going to let them make this attack and then see what they want to try to do here. We're going to pump up the Contender. Not a surprise there. Okay. And then that resolves, and then what happens? We're going to double Borrower. Petty Theft, targeting the claimed Contender and the Venerable Knight. This means the scariest thing they could possibly do here is like Embercleave us for 2 damage, which is not actually scary. Put it back, put it back. If we take 1 damage this turn, it's a huge triumph of a turn. If they try to Rimrock Knight, they can't put that much extra stuff on the board here. So what is it going to be, opponent? Another Contender. Okay, opponent trying to play the value game with us. Fine by me. Finds a Worthy Knight. Okay, that's a good reason to save Bonecrusher Giant for later. Okay, so I'm going to play Lucky Clover this turn for sure. Am I for sure going to do that? I think that's correct to do. I would like to triple Bonecrusher at some point. The question is, do I triple Bonecrusher now or do I triple Borrower? I would really like to save Bonecrusher Giant for that Worthy Knight, because that's going to make a bunch of tokens, which is pretty annoying. So I'm actually just going to click next here. I guess Worthy Knight can get Fae of Wishes into Flame Swept at some point. And click next, see what happens. This is actually kind of tricky, because a bunch of stuff has haste, they can make tokens, they have a bunch of like flexible things they can do. But I'm hoping that like triple Brazen Bar on other stuff is like a reasonable starting point. Having to keep doing this to a claim Contender is not my favorite thing, but I think we'll be okay because we have Flame Sweep. We can go dig 2. So put all your stuff back again, sure. And if I'm really lucky, they'll do something like a claim Contender and a Worthy Knight, or Worthy Knight into a claim Contender this turn. Then I just get to kill their whole board. So what's it going to be, opponent? All right, they're just going for all of the tokens. Yeah, another 1-mana Knight? No, okay. Edgewell Innkeeper. That one's interesting. Yes, this is an easy start with triple Bonecrusher. We can't quite Fae of Wishes for Flame Sweep yet, so we're just going to go ahead and stomp. Stomp you, certainly. Stomp you, certainly. We really use a Lovestruck Beast right about now. And stomp the... Oh, we messed up the order of this. So I can't stomp the Venerable Knight now because it's going to put a counter on the Worthy Knight and that'll let it live. So that was my mistake. Done that. The correct order would have been to stomp the Venerable Knight last so that it wouldn't have had any knights left to put a counter on. I forgot that this was target knight instead of target creature. Mistake. So now I could either play Bonecrusher Giant or I could play Edgewell Innkeeper plus Fae of Wishes. I think that having this Fae of Wishes as backup to be able to kill an Embercleave is going to be pretty valuable. So I am just going to cast Bonecrusher Giant this turn. I don't necessarily even have an Embercleave right now. If they don't have Embercleave, the Edgewell Innkeeper and Fae of Wishes play does seem better. Bunch of cards in hand, though. This is tricky. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and Edgewell Innkeeper first here. I should have played the land first because if they have a shock, they can shock the Innkeeper, but these decks never play shock anyway. This is definitely softer to Embercleave. That's the problem. But I'm hoping that just drawing a bunch of cards the next turn, I can be drawing into more of these. And that will let me kind of keep the board controlled. I haven't really played against red-white before. I played against black-red, which is easier because they don't have as much token generation, and they don't have the card advantage of a claim Contender. This is tougher. On the draw, this is definitely tough. Okay, well this is Embercleave if I've ever seen an Embercleave in my life. I'm gonna go ahead and block this. You can Embercleave me and spend all your mana and deal me 6 damage if you really want to. Actually, Rimrock Knight would kill me with Embercleave, wouldn't it? Darn. Darn, alright, well I think I'm forced to make this block then. And they'll Rimrock Knight, they'll have 4 damage, they'll Ember Cleave, and they'll have a lot of damage coming to the top. Alright, so we might have just killed ourselves here, unfortunately. I don't know if any decisions we made are wrong, or if their start was just good enough to kind of invalidate our decisions. But we're now in a position where we really need to draw into another Brazen Borrower. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, I think casting Bonecrusher Giant would not have helped us especially much that game anyway. Okay, so we have one way to win, which is we need to draw a Bonecrusher Giant or Brazen Borrower. I guess Lovestruck Beast could keep us alive if we keep 3 mana open, but I think for the sake of the long game, I just want to play the Innkeeper out here. See what I can find. So play this. Play this, being sure to leave red, green, and blue all mana all open. And let's see if either of these cards is Bonecrusher or... Nope, neither of them was. So are we dead to Venerable Knight? Are dead to Venerable Knight now. So we are going to scoop. Dang! Well, that was a close one, but we had a pretty good start. It's... Not sure we could have done anything differently there. I think I actually just want to... I think this is a matchup where I'm pretty happy just bringing my Flame Sweep into the main deck. With the reason I just don't think we're going to have time to use Fae of Wishes to go spend 7 mana to go get this Flame Sweep. Anything else I want to shift out here? Nissa just seems really slow. Actually, this is probably a matchup where I just remove the other Nissa for a Lava Coil as well. Just having a bit more removal is fine. Chandra seems expensive enough to be safe staying in the sideboard. Return to Nature can kill Ember Cleave, but otherwise doesn't do that much. And I really don't think we can afford to have that many dead draws early, so I'm going to stick with this. We'll see. It's possible that Red-White Knights is tough. Wouldn't be wholly surprised by that. All right, this hand looks good. I'm going to keep this one. So this is, again, looking just like a Clover turn 2 hand. I want to make sure that we can Temple of Mystery to get our 3rd land on time, and the Keepers aren't terrible as blockers, but opponents also mulligan over there. A lot, which is helpful. Temple of Mystery again. Yeah. Well, slightly ugly, but I'm definitely just going to keep this. I think it's important to hit our 3rd land drop in general. Certainly one of the hands we're happy blocking with an early Innkeeper if we have to keep the board clear in time. So this time I'm just going to go for... so I could play... I could also play Clover and then just double Borrower them on the subsequent turn. The more I think about it, the more that just seems obviously better. So let's just do that. Clover. If they shatter the Clover with their like Adventure Knight, I'm going to be sad, but I don't have red mana right now, so for adventures. Inspiring Veteran, sure. So they get me for a bit of damage. I'm going to borrow both of those. Mystery, Forest. Not into that at this point. I'm going to be actually want to draw spells soon, I think. See, I'll just pass the turn here. Double Borrower them once I've seen what they actually play out here. If they go for a Claim Contender, the benefit here is that we can double Borrower to stop them from drawing any cards off of it. Okay, Venerable Knight's fine. And Fervent Champion. Okay, so that one is also fine. We're just going to bounce the Veteran, and then whenever this is targeting this turn. Oh, they could also have Venerated Loxodon. That's the thing I should have thought about. Dang, all right, so I'm making mistakes left and right here. I forgot this deck plays Venerated Loxodon. That's going to make this harder. I'm really going to bounce the Venerated Loxodon. I'm just going to bounce this, and bounce, I suppose, this. Darn, 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 darn. Ugh. To be fair, their hand was absurd, but we definitely screwed this up very badly. All right, I need a Bonecrusher Giant. I don't deserve one, but I need one, and we didn't get one. Yeah, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. We might just die. Still need Fertile Footsteps here. Get a mountain. Get a forest, so I can at least play one Innkeeper this turn. Play the Breeding Pool out. The good news is that the Giant kind of walls them. The bad news is I think we're going to die before it matters. They just get to play 2 more Knights this turn. Yeah, this matchup actually does seem kind of hard. I think that we're just a little slower than we need to be. Innkeeper blocks, we go to 8. Borrower could still get me out of this maybe. Bonecrusher. Oh man, that was such a punt. That's a really distressing way to lose a game. Could use that flame sweep right now. But it just was not forthcoming, and we're just... oh, actually... Alright, technically we can go Innkeeper into Brazen Borrower into draw Flame Sweep, and that would keep us alive. Definitely not tapping this. Well, I guess we'll play the Stomping Ground anyway. Alright, play this. Draw a card. Not Flame Sweep, we're dead. Alright, so the hand looked good. That game might have been quite winnable if we'd had time to play Beanstalk Giant after not letting them cast Venerated Loxodon, but I just didn't think about that card at all. So I just haven't played against that deck in like a month. So that's my fault. I can see my teammates yelling at me as they watch this video now because they really like that. A couple of them really like the Red White Knights deck. Ugh. Alright, well, let's wash the taste of that game out of our mouths. I've altered my opinion. The Red White Knights matchup does seem harder than Red Black, just because they have this way of playing a bunch of threats early. Let's get it back. This hand is much iffier than the last few because we have these 2 5-drops in hand. One of the reasons I don't love having Nissa in the deck. Clogs up hands like this. Clover into Borrower is still strong. The question is if we can do better on a mull. I think I'm going to keep this, but it is close. On the play, I might mull. On the extra with an extra draw to find lands. I'm kind of will be happy if this is just fires now, because this hand's pretty good against fires. Oh, second Lucky Clover is not what we wanted to see. Need to see some of those 24 remaining lands in the deck. 2 turns. Edgewell Innkeeper. Okay. Yeah, obviously over here they're just going to play Teferi and bounce it, but that's the way of the world. Alright, if we don't draw a 3rd land, this is going to be a short game anyway. Ew! Ah, goodness. Alright, well, this didn't work out at all. Maybe... I'm starting to think that any 2-lander with this deck is almost certainly a mulligan unless it has Scrylands in it. This is just too bad. And they're going to have fires, and then they're going to have their stuff. Oh, it's drawn from dreams. It's not even the darn Sphinx, which we could at least bounce. There's the 3rd land. Okay, so let's shake it off for a second, and we're just going to still try and play out this game. Give it our best shot. We do need a Brazen Borrower here, so they don't get to keep having fires on the board, because that's going to kill us. Play Innkeeper after that. Second Escape to the Wild's just, ugh. Yeah, this deck might not be able to actually handle having as many 5-drops as it does. Sure. Alright, Lamb's not bad. The problem is we're probably just going to die to a bunch of Cavaliers this turn, but... let's show you what the plan would be if we were kind of playing this game out of turn ahead of schedule here. So Wave Wish is going to grab Return to Nature plus... I guess I'll take Lava Coil in case they have a Sphinx as one of their plays here. They might not even be playing Sphinx if they're playing Drawn from Dreams. Okay. I have not seen Niv Mizzet in Fires before. That is funny. That is funny, and actually kind of dangerous. That is not a card I want to see at any point in any game ever. Geez. Okay. Well, I wish I had Vivian now. Alright, so sideboarding against this deck. We definitely bring in the Mystical Disputes. We want all 3 of them. Yeah, Mystical Disputes negates, some Return to Nature, so we keep 1 on the board. I'm starting to wonder if Return to Nature is not the right way to fight this deck. We just want more counters, but anyway. The card that doesn't do anything in our current list is Bonecrusher Giants. We just get rid of those. This is actually quite good. Often unable to counter her. Cards that I'm open to cutting here. Edgewell Innkeeper just kind of gets Clarioned, and we're also cutting some adventure creatures, so I'm happy just to cut a couple of Innkeepers. Card's not bad, it just is kind of unimpressive when we're playing more of a control game against them. Biggest thing is just seeing land drops. Okay, this hand is extremely good. We're happy to keep it. They don't have any way in their entire deck to get rid of Clover on turn 2, which means we're going to get to Beanstalk Giant and hold up Negate. We don't need more lands because we're going to be Beanstalk Gianting. Okay, Innkeeper's not terrible. That one later, probably. Interesting. So we're holding a bit of mana, presumably to use, I don't know, Negate, Dovin's Veto, something like that. And we're still going to Beanstalk Giant, even if they want to negate one half of this or whatever, I don't really care. So we're getting a Forest first, because if they were going to counter one half of this, we want to play Edgewell Innkeeper this turn. Because they didn't, we're now just going to hold up Negate. Yep, nice Bonecrusher Giant. We don't even bother to negate that. We don't care about 4/3s or whatever. Just want to stop Teferi this turn. We want to keep this Clover in play. Alright, they're just Bone Crushing, which is whatever. So this turn I'm just going to go Escape to the Wilds. Okay, did not hit any lands, which is kind of funny. Hitting actual 0 lands is pretty awkward, but I think we'll be okay. I'm just going to go Breeding Pool untapped. I think it's worth it to have the untapped Steam Vents just so I can Mystical Dispute something, or threaten to. I'm going to use Lovestruck Beast, get this one out of the way. Having 2 Mystical Dispute revealed by this card is also kind of awkward. This opponent knows about the counters. Fortunately, opponent's just going to run into them anyway, which is probably not the right play. But I'll take it. I'll certainly take it. And they didn't attack, which is also weird. I would have happily chump blocked there. Okay, so cards that we actually need to cast this turn. So Mystical Dispute's going away. We can't do anything about that. I now have access to 8 mana. So I'm going to cast this Innkeeper because we have to. And then I think the right play is just going to be Innkeeper, Lovestruck Beast, hold up Negate. So we're losing a couple of our sideboard cards to that Escape the Wilds. That's okay, because we should have plenty of cards to see this game through anyway. And I'm just going to play this out tap to keep the Negate open. And pass the turn, and now this Lovestruck Beast gets to start beating them down. We can counter Clearing, we can counter Time Wipe. And Cavaliers don't care about those at this point. No sir or ma'am. May not. Okay, Nissa's pretty good. Yeah, I'll happily cast her before I cast Escape to the Wilds. That Mountain out first, just because it's a non-forest land, which lets us save our forests. Actually, that's not true. We had the Steam Vents. All right. Shouldn't have played the Mountain out first. That was a small error of timing. Okay, so kind of a medium Escape to the Wilds, but it's fine. Got the forest, play out the Clover. We have Fae of Witches for next turn, which is totally great. Untap this island. Attack my opponent for 8 damage. And now, even if they go for a Wrath effect, we just easily blow them out with Fae of Wishes, getting all the things in the world. Did visit Perun. All right, so this card would normally be somewhat dangerous, but at this point, I think we're not actually in any danger from it. Yeah, we win this easily. So we're just going to go ahead and Nissa animates a random land. We'll just attack all our opponent. They're going to have to block something, and then we just Fae of Wishes for Explosion to kill them. We also Fae of Wishes for some random removal for the Niv-Mizzet, but let's just kill the opponent instead. Just check we have enough mana. We easily have enough mana. Green, green, blue. We have 2 blue, 2 red left over. Fae of Wishes. Niv-Mizzet importantly only triggers 1 time when you adventure something, no matter how many times you adventured it. Where does Expansion Explosion go? There it is. And I guess in theory we don't want to show our opponent any additional information. We'll just get random stuff that they know we're not going to ever bring in against them. Or that we will never bring in against them, at least, whether or not they know it. Random stuff. And we go red, green, red, green. Whoops. Blue, blue, green. Explosion U, explosion X4. That's game. All right. So Niv-Mizzet, definitely a big threat, honestly. Now I really wish we had a Vivian in the board. Or a Domer's Ambush, but we don't, so that's that. All right, that was a pretty good one. We blew them out of the water. But on the draw, it is going to be tougher. I don't know how many visits they run. I'm trying to think about like the sensible reasons that card is not good, but I think that card just might be good. There's a part of me that wants to think about expansion in the main deck just because it's really good against Drawn from Dreams specifically. And tutoring it is very unusual. I don't think the situation you saw there is going to come up too often where they're getting attacked down and we just need to like tutor for something to kill Niv-Mizzet. Or kill them through Niv-Mizzet. Maybe I want that over 1 Nissa. Problem is it's very bad against Teferi. I'll keep this the same. There are matchups where I'll sometimes bring in the expansion against Wilderness Reclamation, for example, because they have so many instants and we have so many dead cards. Nope. That one. That one's fine. Not great, but fine. And we wanted just one of the 5-drops. And Nissa seems... The draw Nissa seems slightly worse. I don't know. We're definitely playing at the Innkeeper on turn 1 because we have nothing better to do. And if they want a Bone Crusher Giant this, that's fine, I think. They did. We weren't value out either way there. Lucky Clover is pretty good. If we get a land specifically and they don't have a Teferi, then we're going to suddenly be in a great position in this game. Okay, no Teferi and no Bone Crusher Giant. Those are both great news. No blue mana either. And yep, okay, so we drew out very well from there. That was lucky. Turtle Footsteps can grab Mountain Island. Worst case scenario, they have Fire's Invention to Drawn from Dreams. I'm hoping they just go Fire's Invention to Bone Crusher Giant and get rid of stuff. Very satisfying. Okay. And Bone Crusher Giant. So there's a question of whether we want to bounce this or not. Deals 2 damage. Oh, we definitely want to bounce it. Who am I kidding? Yeah, the damage doesn't really matter. The fact they can stomp it later doesn't really matter. We just want our opponent's stuff to go away. For now. We can deal with it later. Okay, so I think I'm going to play this Forest before Escape to the Wilds because I want to keep blue mana open in case we draw a Mystical Dispute or a Negate here. Okay, drew a bunch of stuff that was neither of the things. Question of whether to play a Stomping Ground untap so you can Petty Theft again, or whether to play one of these Temple of Mysteries. I'll Stomping Ground untapped. Again, think the life total is under too much threat, and if they next turn go like Land, Fires, Cavalier, it's going to be really good to have Petty Theft open. This is also nice, sitting over here. It might be thinking we have Negate, and they're trying to think about playing around that. Nope. And same old, same old. That's, sure. Why not? And perfectly happy just to use this up. We don't get to cast it later, but 3-1 is not a huge thing anyway. So we do have to target this twice. There's no way of getting around it. But that's fine. I just want it out of there. And now we can resolve Nissa very safely, which is great news. We can Nissa into Fae of Wishes, which is also cool, but let's see. Actually, Temple of Mystery first to be technically correct, so let's untap these lands. I'm going to try and play really smooth here because it's a tight game. So Temple of Mystery first. We're not drawing cards anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just that one back. And now I will Nissa into Fae of Wishes this turn. Leave blue untapped. This is a situation where I definitely wish I had a little bit more situation where I wish I had a counter in my sideboard somewhere. Because they have no fires, we're not in danger of just getting murdered by Cavalier here. So we're going to do this. And what do I want? I would like something to deal with a Niv Mizzet, which Expansion Explosion does nicely. And I would like something to deal with Fires of Invention, which a Return to Nature. Yeah, this all steals the Cavaliers and draws me a million cards, so I'm pretty happy with that all around. Yeah, okay. So should be in a pretty safe spot. Even against Niv Mizzet, we can handle it. But the opponent's playing some cards I've never seen, so you can never be quite sure. All right, so we got through them. That was a tight early game. We really did draw pretty well from that opening hand, but you can see that like the combination of just the cards Lucky Clover, Beanstalk Giant, and Fae of Wishes, just they do incredible things. And then if you don't punt against the Knight stacks, sometimes they even help you beat aggro. All right, so I think I'll play one more match. These have been pretty surprisingly draining matches. Like this deck definitely does play some. Is not super relaxing to play in the early turns off. Trying to put together a puzzle every time. All right, but I've watered myself, so let's see if we can get back to rank 6. So we've gained a little bit of something from this video. I'm not really trying too hard to get to rank 1 this season, just because as you can see by these the way these things bounce around, it's just such a crapshoot. But it would feel good to be able to put that one up on Reddit. Rank 1 Mythic. Look at me, I am better than the rank 2s and the rank 3s. No, it's not really a thing. Anyone who's a high Mythic is probably a pretty decent player. Heuristic there. Okay. All right, Temur Clover. Gonna get him. Yep, sure. It has most of the things we want. No Lucky Clover, but that's okay. And what are we doing this turn? Next turn I can just go Innkeeper Beast. I'm just going to Temple of Mystery here. Our lands to the bottom. Most other things would go to the top, but let's see what we have here. I've got an island. So for a control deck, this Brazen Borrower is not great, but we have Innkeeper, so I think it's acceptable. Keep that. Okay, looks like this could be blue-red flash. That makes me much less inclined to cast Innkeeper this turn, because that just plays straight into a Bonecrusher Giant. Actually, I think I'm just going to go for Island here. I could play Steam Vents untapped. That makes me take some damage. Well, I'll play Steam Vents. My life total is not that important, and I would like to have the flexibility of playing Bonecrusher Giant this turn if it comes to that. If my opponent turns out to be Fire's Invention, I'm going to be really sad that they tricked me. So far, though, it does not look like that's what's happening. Okay. Escape to the Wild's cool. So I'm going to do the thing where I could just cast a 5/5 Lovestruck Beast. Nah. We're just going to do a nice Heart's Desire here. You can negate this if you want to, opponent. It's fine. This is probably the last card the opponent expected to see from me here. They probably thought I was Temur Reclamation or something. Let's see what happens. Negate. Sure. Trading 1 for 1 is fine. I'm going to pass the turn here. So fortunately, if this is blue-red flash, they're not going to have cards like Teferi that punish me for sitting here and playing instant speed. They also seem to be missing land drops, which is extremely good news for me. Ooh, another Edgewell Keeper. That is tempting. So it's tempting to play Innkeeper and Borrower, because if they're just playing a 1-for-1 deck, I don't mind just drawing cards and putting pressure on the board. There's nothing I'm that scared of them resolving. I know they have a Bone Crusher Giant. I know they do, but I am never going to not get killed by a Bone Crusher Giant. They're always going to get my Innkeeper sooner or later, so let me play it out. Pass the turn. I know you're going to kill it, opponent. Just do it. Just do it to me. Shock. Oh, okay. Huh. That's interesting. Did I play this in response, or did I save it for the ability? I think I'll still play this out. That actually gives me a clock too, which is nice. We still have ample ways to deal with a Brineborn Cutthroat, I think. Oh, it just gets quenched. Okay, so a nice 2 for 2, but I draw a card off the exchange. Fine by me. That is the classic Edgewell Innkeeper experience. Drew card, it was fine. All right, now we got 2 Escape to the Wilds and nothing else going on, which is a little awkward. I'm just going to Fae of Wishes here just to have something to do. If they counter this, it's fine. Whatever. Sure. The more counters we get out of their hand now, the easier it will be to resolve and Escape to the Wilds later. Raise and Borrow. All right, well, let's do this thing again. Just cast this and try to draw a card off the exchange. Counter it. Fine. Cool. Next. I guess it could be Rawl's Outburst. Give my opponent some cards. It was Rawl's Outburst. All right, let's cast this again. Okay, there's the 5th land we were looking for. Cool. Come in handy eventually. So, really close game so far. Question is just whether our opponent can put pressure on us to stop us from getting these Escape the Wilds down. Got him, all right. And we do have to kind of cast spells at some point, so I'm just going to do this one. You'll get countered, that's fine. Sure. I actually do have to deal with the Brazen Borrower at some point. Lucky Clover. Oh, that's great. That's perfect. Lets me double spell this turn, which is exactly what I wanted to be doing. That one resolved. Okay, opponent. Hope you like Fae of Wishes. They didn't. Okay, yeah, that's just counter the Clover. All you blue flash opponents who I'm going to play in the future, just counter the Clover. All right, what am I getting? So Chandra's uncounterable. We don't actually have a second red source right now. That also makes the Spanish Explosion look a lot worse. Mystical Dispute. I have a good number of lands. I think I just get something that's generically kind of threatening. I think I'll actually take Once in Future, because this is an instant. Actually, hey, we got Once in Future. That's the first time I've ever gotten that card on the board. It's actually pretty good here as an instant speed thing that's just generically threatening. Now, if our opponent casts Niv Mizzet, I'm going to be very sad, but they actually don't have double, triple reds. They can't. I like that part. Let's keep hitting them with Brazen Borrower. That sound. It's great. And they can't tap out for Castle Vantress because we'll just Once in Future them in response. See if that'll stop them. Opponent is playing it very tight here. Okay. I'm not going to cast Once in Future yet. I don't want them to counter it and be able to untap. And all right, Blast Zone, that'll kill a Clover eventually, so that's kind of cool. All right, so here's the turn we're going to once in future with Adamant. Not cast a card with Adamant since I was playing Eldraine Limited back in the day. And I will grab, what do I grab? I like Lovestruck Beast. Lovestruck Beast is pretty big, and a Fae of Wishes probably. Eventually I'm going to draw red mana. It doesn't really matter what I get. I'm just going to grab Fae and Lovestruck Beast, sure. Adamant, if this gets countered, I'm going to double Bone Crusher them in the face. Alright, and the lesson there is never let Lucky Clover resolve. Well, I guess they eventually just ran out of stuff to do anyway. Alright, Blue Flash protocols are active. Let's bring in Lava Coil. Mystical Disputes, keep the negates out, keep the turns out, cut the expensive stuff. And just play their game better than they do, is the goal. And I kept Wild's Future in the sideboard because I think it's better just to pull out late in the game when you're just looking for stuff to go over the top with. Possible since we have Chandra for that in most games. I should be putting in the main, but too late now. It's the best motto in response to mistakes. It's too late now. Okay, this is not a hand we keep. Okay. If I draw a second land, this hand's actually quite good. I'm going to keep it. We're going to ditch this thing that I can't cast yet. I hope it gets some lands. Yeah, 26 land deck. You can do it. A Mystical Dispute at least means I can counter a... Alright, that's a good one to draw. Means I can counter their Brineborn Cutthroats. Huh. What do I run out here? I think I'm actually just going to no, that's... If they have a negate, let's say. They could either have a negate or they could have a Brineborn Cutthroat. Against either of those, Fae of Wishes being like a 1/4 is actually kind of fine. Maybe I'm just doing this. Yeah, alright, I'm just going to cast this. I could have a Quench, but Quench gets anything. I don't just want to be holding up counter spells here. Brineborn Cutthroat, sure. So you find a third land, we should be able to kill that. Opponent's mana screwed again. Woohoo! Love to see it. Alright. I'm just going to pass, hold up Mystical Dispute, and be able to kill the Brineborn Cutthroat if they try to play another one. So, hooray for Magic's mana system. Oh no, the opponent has a third land. That's not fair. It's not fair. So the question is, do I Bone Crusher them now? That seems... I think I just want to do this and use my mana. Get down a Lucky Clover if I can. Alright, so they might have Mystical Dispute up. Let's keep that in mind. Hey, a forest! Ah, I love forests. Forests are great. Okay. So I have the choice of either playing Clover... I could play Beanstalk Giant. I'd rather do that once I have a Lucky Clover out. I have the chance of either playing Clover and Innkeeper, or Clover and hold up Mystical Dispute. I don't think there's that much of a chance they're going to cast something that I really want to dispute here. So I'm actually... But I don't have anything to do with Innkeeper yet. So I think just to be safe, we'll just play Clover, hold up Mystical Dispute. Never know. And Fae of Wish is doing a great job. Just sitting here as a 1/4. Flexible adventure cards are the best. I'm probably going to bounce my Lucky Clover to my hand with a Brazen Borrower here. And I just don't think I'm very interested in you doing that. Rather you not do that here. This obviously lets Brineborn Cutthroat grow a bunch if they have another counter. Which is annoying. Okay, many things happened. Their Brineborn Cutthroat is bigger. I can still Brazen Borrow if I draw a Brazen Borrower. They do get to bounce my Clover. Oh wait, no, I can just... What am I talking about? I have mana. I can just stop that from happening. Cool, alright, so that was countered. I keep my Clover. Their Cutthroat is big now, which is a problem. But it won't be a problem if I can double Bone Crusher it. So I'm just like, next. No attacks. I could, I guess, be attacking there. They don't have anything with haste. I'm not going to block, so a little bit lazy. just want to draw some lands. Having Clover in play is great. If I get to double Bone Crusher next turn, I can dig myself out of a lot of jams. Nope. Oh, man. Double Borrower. I keep doing that to other people, but it feels bad when it happens to me specifically. I'm a good person. All right. At this point, I think I just want to... I want to Brazen Borrower the stupid Rhymeworn Cutthroat when they cast their Brazen Borrower. I'm just playing Innkeeper past the turn. Fae of Wishes blocks Brazen Borrower, so it's fine. No attacks. I'm a turn. Sure. Okay, whatever. This thing can go away. So a bit of a disappointing game, but we're like still in reasonably safe territory. If I can just get down to Lucky Clover, I'm going to be in really good shape. Is there a world where I just start casting creatures to draw cards with this Innkeeper? I think there is a world like that, and I think that's the world we live in today. Is there? No, I might as well just play start with second Clover. Sadly, they're probably going to go Cutthroat and Counterspell. Sure. They're almost out of cards. They still can't attack. I'm going to play the second Innkeeper. Definitely the key tool for fighting these decks is playing 2 spells in 1 turn. It's just tough without lands. Okay, they tapped out. They did draw some cards, but I don't care, because they tapped out. And if I can just draw a 4th land, they're going to get punished so hard. Yeah! Alright, great. That is fantastic news. So, Gadwick with the tap ability is slightly dangerous, but I think it's more important to kill 2 of their creatures here. We can at least block Gadwick with Fae of Wishes and stuff, so we're just going to go Clover. Double Bone Crusher. Stomp, stomp, go away, go away. So life total is a little low. They did just draw a bunch of fresh cards. This is not, we're not out of the woods by any means, but these double Innkeepers should help us be very good in the long game. If they don't have an Invisit or something like that. I just attack with Gadwick in order to kill Fae of Wishes, but that's fine. You want to spend your spells on that? I don't mind. Sure. Shocking Fae of Wishes or not shocking Edgewell. Let's draw some cards. So I am paying careful attention to what basics I have access to. 1 more island, 2 mountains. Okay. And a counter, I presume? If this is ionized, I'm going to be in real danger of dying. Quench. Sure. All my stuff gets tapped. Might die to Gadwick. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to play Bone Crusher Giant this turn. Let's get a forest. Alright, so a single Rouse Outburst does kill us here by tapping the Bone Crusher Giant. And I'm definitely not in a comfortable position at all. It looks like my opponent's actually out of stuff, so now we're in a comfortable position. Hey, hey! Hey, 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 hey! I am definitely just casting this. Am I? No, I want the chump blockers. They counter this big boy. That seems... Actually... They almost certainly have a counterspell. I'm going to draw 2 cards. I don't need the tokens that badly. Give me 2 cards, please. Okay, now things are looking very good. Brazen Borrower means we're not going to get attacked to death in the air. Next turn, we're going to Fae of Wishes and go get Plainwide Celebration or Chandra or something like that. I don't need to do that this turn. This turn, I'd rather just cast Brazen Borrower. Focus on doing that. Next, we do have to be slightly aggressive this game because we could just get burned out from 8 life. They do have burn spells. And Roll's Outburst can draw them even more burn spells. For now, feeling reasonably comfortable. Mystical Dispute, a little less useful here. Do it, I will admit. Let's go ahead and do Fae of Wishes here. It's negated, sure. Happy that wasn't ionized. My life total stays reasonably high. Neat. All right, so Chandra is at once. What do I want here? So I could get once in future again. Who am I kidding? I'm definitely getting once in future again. Once in future is great. Well, it does give me nothing to cast this turn. Oh, I can. I actually don't need Adamant to cast this. I'll just take it. Cool. All right. Your turn, opponent. Back Brazen Borrower. Well, Brazen Borrower can block Brazen Borrowers, but if they want to cast Brazen Borrower this turn, I can Mistral Dispute it, so that's not important. I'm gonna hit him. They have something. What do they have? Shock, Edgewell, Innkeeper. That is A-okay. It's A-okay. Temur and Cutthroat remains blockable by Bonecrusher Giant. Oh, I'm glad they played that land. I don't know why they did, because they could definitely be bluffing at this point. But I am super happy with how this is going. I'm just going to go get Fae of Wishes, and I guess Bonecrusher Giant just kills Gadwick at this point, and Gadwick's really the only big threat they have. Let's grab Bonecrusher Giant. Yeah. Oh, interesting. I thought it would give me a choice of which one to put on top. It's good to remember that it doesn't actually do that. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and Fae of Wishes, go get Lane-wide Celebration for sure, and Chandra. I guess I could get Lava Plume and kill their entire board. I have Lava Coil, and Lava Coil is not in my sideboard right now because I put it in my main deck. So, Lane-wide Celebration and Chandra it is. And I'll play the Fae of Wishes first, because that's probably what I'm going to do this turn. And we'll double Bonecrusher the get, and it's done. All right, yay! Value engines and flexible answers win again, even though it was tight with that missed land drops. Okay. So it would have been nice to get in a game against a cat deck, but I think I am basically at the end of my video making energy at this point. I should probably go work on the Reddit post about this deck that I want to write. You got a chance to see what we can do. What it did was definitely get the poop kicked out of it by Red White Knights that one match. That was tough. And it's possible that I should have maybe bounced to a claim contender somewhat fewer times. But when we draw Lovestruck Beast, that matchup is probably fine, and most other matchups are better than fine. So yep, I think right now the games you won there put me up to something like 27-6 with this deck in Mythic, something like that. Deck's quite good, and I hope you give it a try. So, of course, let me know in the video, in the comments, if you'd like to have any questions about the deck, and be sure to like and subscribe. All right, see you next time.